Hello, Year 3, Mr. Orton here. Welcome to Lesson 2 of our English this week. Well done yesterday for creating your wonderful story maps for the children's book that you are going to create. In today's lesson, we are going to be looking at vocabulary and words that you can put into your children's storybooks. Now, some of the best children's authors love to use silly words, nonsense words that they make up themselves to include in their books. So Roald Dahl is particularly good at doing that, and there's other authors as well. One that I particularly like is Dr. Seuss, and I've got this book here. You might see it back to front. Actually, the Sneetches. I've got a better one actually. Let me pick. Where have I got? Oh, here we go. The Lorax, or for you, it might read backwards. The Zaxorolo. So I'll read you an example. See if you can spot any nonsense words from the beginning of Dr. Seuss's The Lorax. So, at the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing, excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could, before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, the old oncer still lives here. Ask him, he knows. You won't see the oncer, don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkin, on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkin, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes, out of muffed moof. And on special dank midnights in August he peeks, out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks, and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. So, there are lots of interesting nonsense words in there. The main one is the Lorax, which is this strange creature that Dr. Seuss just made up. There's a picture of him on the front there. And there are some other silly words there, like grickle grass, which is just a made-up type of grass that you can imagine what that might look like. And where he lives as well, his house. So he lived in a house where the Onceler tells him, can explain where he lived. So the Onceler is also something that a creature that is just made up. And at the Onceler's door, he stays in his lurkin at the top of his store. So there's a picture there of where the Onceler might live. And he makes his own clothes out of muffed moof, which is completely nonsense. So what we'd like you guys to do today is to make up your own nonsense word that you can include into your children's stories, because children love silly words. So it could be a creature, like the Lorax. You can introduce a little animal or some sort of creature who has sniffle snouts, and that's another thing from Dr. Seuss, and other strange things on their body. Or it could just be a strange word that describes something that we would think is normal, like grass. You can create grickle grass, or lollipop trees, or something completely made up. In fact, lollipop's a real word, so that's probably not a good one. You could say the lollylop trees, or something like that. So today's lesson is going to focus on vocabulary and you guys actually making up your own words. So on the next slide, before we begin making our own words, we've got a bit of a game. It's called Balderdash, and Balderdash is a game where you have to try and make up your own definitions to real words. So I'm going to put some real words on the slides, which you've probably never heard of. I'm hoping you've never heard of, because it's more fun if you've not heard of them. But they're very unusual words, and you need to see if you can make up what you think those words mean, so you can make your own definition. The funnier the better, so make it really silly, and it has to be a nice definition to explain what it might. It might be a verb, like an action word, or it could be a noun, it could be a thing, for example. But you'll see on the next slide some examples of the words. And then on the very last slide, you will see the answers, so you can see how close you came to getting the right word. If you come up with a great definition, a very funny definition, make sure you write it on the Google Stream so everybody else can have a good laugh and see your definition for what you think the word might be. And then on the slide after that, you're going to be then starting to make your own words up to use in your story. Whether you create your own creature or you describe something with an unusual made-up adjective or made-up verb, you could even say, he whiffle-waffed across the classroom. What does whiffle waff mean? We can imagine what it means in our heads. So the idea is that you don't need to know exactly, the reader doesn't have to know exactly what it means, because to every single person it'd be slightly different. If you read this story, The Lorax, without any pictures or anything, you would have your own ideas as to what grickle grass might look like, or what a laurox might look like. And then the final slide, you're going to be designing or starting to think about how you can make your book more creative. So more of a thinking along the lines of DT. Are you going to put little hidden flaps into your story, or are you going to have different textures where the children can touch the page, and some pages are furry and some pages are crinkly, or anything like that? Or are you going to have things that pull out of the story? Or if you think about, some of you have based your books on The Very Hungry Caterpillar, and if you've read The Very Hungry Caterpillar, the pages get longer and longer as you read because the caterpillar eats more and more. So what are the interesting things you're going to put into your story designs? So that is today's lesson. I hope you have lots of fun, and I will see you on Thursday after Wellbeing Wednesday. Have a great day. Goodbye.